Bible prophecy is active and unfolding daily. Zechariah 12, Isaiah 17, Psalm 83, Ezekiel 38. Here is what the LameStream Media is not telling you. Shalom, my friends. Welcome to this week's newscast. From the Associated Press, the fiercest hurricane to hit the United States in 12 years caused widespread damage and dumped torrents of rain along hundreds of miles of the Texas coastline. Residents were warned of catastrophic and life-threatening flooding to come after Hurricane Harvey made landfall late on Friday night last weekend, with 130-mile-per-hour winds that battered buildings, knocked down trees and electricity cables, and left up to 300,000 people without power. One man who stayed in the town said, quote, "The storm sounded like a train with square wheels. It was the most stressful thing I've ever been through. I saw trees going down, roofs blowing off. I've got 300-year-old oak trees down in my yard, a magnolia tree on my roof," close quote. Our fellowship on my Vimeo channel was in constant prayer for our Chavarim in Texas, my friends. Now, I have a palm scanning video linked for you below if you want to check it out. A dad is registering his daughter for school and discovers what looks to be a very covert operation going on where they are inserting chips into the hands of the children without necessarily telling the parents what they're doing. I also have a link for you regarding a palm scanning article that was published 5 years ago, where students in Florida have been paying for lunch with a wave of their hand over a palm scanner. Further, U.S. companies have been following suit lately from the Swedes, having chip parties, where employees gather to have their microchips injected into their wrists. It's time, my friends. It is time. Turning to wars and rumors of wars, the atmosphere in the Middle East has been rapidly changing and shifting in some very significant ways these past few weeks. Isaiah Yeshayahu, chapter 17, verse 12 reads, "Woe to a multitude of peoples who are making a large uproar. They roar and thunder like the noise of the seas. Yes, the roar and the pomp of nations. They roar and make desolate as rushing and mighty waters do." Isaiah 17 prophesies the total annihilation of Damascus occurring literally overnight, my friends. We know there's a large stockpile of chemical weapons stored in subterranean locations throughout the city of Damascus, so a serious strike on Damascus could very easily render the world's oldest city as a place of desolation in just a moment of time. From Ynet News, the Iranian presence in Syria begins at Damascus Airport and includes the Iranian embassy and bases which overlook Damascus near the presidential palace. Iran has transported a large number of containers carrying advanced implements of war by sea under the guise of commercial shipments carried out through companies connected to Iran's international shipping company, IRISL. Simultaneously, Iran runs an airlift to Syria from Tehran's airports and Iranian air bases adjacent to the Iraqi border. These flights fly civilian routes through Iran Air and Mahan Air, but also use Army transportation aircraft under a company called Qasem Ferez Air. And flights leave at night to prevent satellite monitoring. Iranian units in Syria now number close to 1,500 men, with some 18,000 fighters of different militias present in the country. From the Associated Press, thousands of Iranian-backed fighters in Syria's central desert region are advancing east, bringing Tehran closer to its goal of securing a corridor from its border through Iraq and all the way to the Mediterranean. Such a land route would facilitate movement of Iranian-backed fighters between Iran, Iraq, Syria, and Lebanon, as well as the flow of weapons to Damascus and Hezbollah. The aim is for a geographical connection between Syria, Iraq, and the axis of resistance. Then from the Prime Minister's office, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu told Russian President Vladimir Putin during a meeting in Russia last Wednesday, quote, "Iran is increasing its efforts to establish its military foothold in Syria. That is dangerous for Israel, the Middle East, and, I believe, the whole world. Iran is already in advanced stages of taking over Iraq and Yemen, and in effect, it also controls Lebanon." Close quote. He went on to say, quote, "What is not welcome is Iran moving in everywhere ISIS moves out. We do not forget for 1 minute that Iran continues to threaten Israel's destruction every day. Israel continues to oppose Iran's entrenchment in Syria. We will defend ourselves in any way against this threat." Close quote. On Thursday, August 24th, from Bas News, Kurdistan, Kurdish Peshmerga forces repelled overnight a massive attack by ISIS militants in southern Kirkuk areas. After hours of fierce fire exchange, the offensive was defeated with several jihadists killed or injured. Turning to our Intifada update, from the Times of Israel, Israeli police arrested 72 Palestinians in the past week who were involved in violent protests against Israel over the Temple Mount last month. Of those arrested, 43 have been charged so far for engaging in violent acts such as throwing rocks and firebombs and shooting fireworks at officers. And now, looking at our review of last week's news, the fiercest hurricane to hit the United States in 12 years caused widespread damage and dumped torrents of rain along hundreds of miles of the Texas coastline. Palm scans and chip implants are becoming much more widely accepted everywhere. Iran is transporting advanced implements of war by sea into Syria, hidden in their commercial shipments. Thousands of Iranian-backed fighters in Syria's central desert region are advancing east. Kurdish Peshmerga forces repelled a massive attack by ISIS in southern Kirkuk. And Israeli police arrested 72 Palestinians in the past week who were involved in violent protests against Israel over the Temple Mount last month. And that, my friends, is what the LameStream Media is not telling you. Abba willing, I'll see you here again next week. Until then, stay safe. Shalom.
Crowded rooms, I need more space than I consume. Enough is time alone with you, underneath a naked moon, sharing confidential moods and making chatter. Mockingbird nocturnal sings notations of eternal things, quantum breeze, flying not for want of wings. He lights his gaze on you and me, simply because we matter.